closed the app. Nothing happened. No one insulted you. No bad news arrived. And still, something in you feels smaller than it did 10 minutes ago. You cannot point to what caused it. It just happens, and it happens again tomorrow, and somehow you have started expecting it. Seth has a name for what just happened to you, and it has nothing to do with what you scrolled past. It has everything to do with what you were doing to yourself the entire time you were scrolling. This is not a willpower problem, and it is not really a content problem either. Seth described the mechanism behind it decades before anyone built a social media app. Back when the closest thing to it was a newspaper folded on the kitchen table, or a broadcast playing in the next room. The mechanism does not care what delivers the repetition. It only cares that the repetition happened, and that nothing in the room argued back. Here's what you are about to find. There is a specific process your mind uses to turn repetition into belief, whether or not that repetition happens to be true. It has less to do with the people you were watching than it feels like in the moment, and by the end of this, you will have one concrete thing to do the next time that feeling shows up, not just an explanation for it. Seth called the first mechanism natural hypnosis. Formal hypnosis needs a hypnotist, a subject, and a room with the distractions removed. His point was that you do not actually need any of that stuff. Whenever you give something your own undivided attention, he said, you act as the hypnotist and the subject simultaneously. There is no one else required in the room. Think about what that process actually requires. Concentrated focus, repetition, and nothing present that argues back. Picture the specific moment, your thumb moving without you deciding to move it. One video after another, each one a small vote for the same conclusion, and nothing anywhere on the screen casting a vote the other way. Seth used a different image for something related to this, and it fits almost too well here. He was actually describing consciousness tuning into other realities, not a screen, but the mechanics translate directly. He compared consciousness to a radio capable of picking up dozens of stations at once, all of them broadcasting simultaneously, whether you are tuned in or not. You were never meant to listen to every station. That was never the design. The problem is not that the other stations exist somewhere in the background. The problem starts the moment you pick one, leave it running for hours without questioning it, and forget that you are the one holding the dial. Seth described a second piece of this that lines up almost exactly with what a feed does to you. He said that once a belief takes hold, a person stops taking in information evenly. They start mining it. Give someone a belief like, I am falling short, and Seth said they will search all the data available to them. In his day, that meant newspapers, television, letters, private conversation, and hold on to only the pieces that confirm what they already suspect. Everything that argues the other way gets quietly filed away and ignored. You remember the one caption that stung. You do not remember the 4 you scrolled past a second later without a reaction. That pattern existed before anyone had ever built a social media app. The app did not invent it. It automated it, and it removed the effort. You used to have to go looking for evidence that you were behind. Now it arrives pre-sorted, ranked by a system that has already learned exactly which examples will keep your thumb moving. Seth put the entire mechanism into a single sentence. You get what you concentrate on. There is no other main rule. A feed puts that rule to work automatically. Whatever you pause on is exactly what it shows you more of. 10 minutes into a scroll session, that rule stops sounding like a rule at all. It starts feeling like a verdict about who you are. Often, the specific belief being repeated is a comparison. A stranger's highlight reel becomes evidence about your own life, evidence you never actually asked for. But comparison itself was never the problem. A healthy kind of comparison exists too, the kind that measures you against your own past, checking whether you have moved further than you were last year. What breaks is swapping that comparison out for a different one, measured against a stranger you were never going to outrun in the first place. Seth had a word for growth that stays on the right side of that line. He called it value fulfillment, a pull, built into you toward becoming more fully yourself in a way that adds to the people around you instead of taking something away from them. The law of attraction has always said that what you focus on expands, and that a thought repeated enough becomes a belief. Seth's material agrees with all of that completely. What this specific piece adds is not a deeper version of the same idea. It is the mechanics underneath it. Attention that is undivided and unopposed does not just shape a mood, it manufactures a belief, whether or not the belief happens to be accurate. None of this makes you weak for feeling the pull to compare yourself to others. Wanting to know where you stand is something built into people, recognized as a basic part of human psychology for a long time. That part of you is not broken and does not need to be argued out of existence. What changed is not you. What changed is the number of stations broadcasting at you all day without your permission. Here's what holding the dial actually looks like. The next time that specific drop hits after you close the app, do not argue with it and do not scroll past it looking for something to cancel it out. Seth's own instruction here was simple. Shift your attention on purpose to one concrete thing that is actually true about your own day. It can be as small as what you are about to eat or a single task you actually finished. The size does not matter. The realness does. Not an argument, not a comparison running the other direction. Just your own undivided attention, redirected on purpose. That attention is the same tool the app hijacked in the first place. It does not care which direction you point it. It only cares that you commit to one thing at a time. Point it at something real about your own life, and it will start building belief in that instead, the exact same way it built the feeling of falling behind. You are never behind. What actually happened is that you tuned into a station built to make you feel behind, without ever choosing to tune into it. Now you know how to turn that station off and how to let the feeling go instead of carrying it into tomorrow. There is a saying you have probably heard that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and it gets repeated most often about money. Is that actually true? Next time, we hold that idea up against Seth's own material, the parts about shared belief systems that quietly shape a family or a friend group into a common experience of wealth, or the lack of it, without anyone ever agreeing to it out loud. And if there turns out to be real weight behind it, we also look at what it would actually take to step outside of that average and build something none of the people closest to you have reached yet.